It was a San Diego pop-out at Snapdragon Stadium. The San Diego Padres were in the house. Of course, you had Manny Machado, one of the early owners of this team, but you also had Joe Musgrove, the local Tatis, Arise, and more players as well. Also, the crowd was absolutely electric, and just in my opinion, it seems like the crowd this game was actually more amped and a better crowd than we had in our home opener, and our home opener was a sellout. So I love to see that energy, but sadly, we did have a very, 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 very small few people start that derogatory chant. The good thing is most people did not join the stadium. You could barely hear it. So I think it was just a couple bad eggs really trying to get it started. And thankfully it did not start. But, hopefully no games will get canceled. Don't like to hear it, but glad that we didn't join. It wasn't as big of a problem as it was last game. So when we go home, let's make sure to show up. Let's make sure to show out, but let's leave that derogatory chant at home in your homestead, because Snapdragon, we got to make San Diego America's finest soccer city. But what a great night. What a great night of soccer. What a great game to watch live. I also rewatched it this morning, and it was just as interesting, and that rarely happens, right? You can watch the game live and there's all these things going on and you're so excited that obviously the crowd, all the energy, everything is there. And then when you rewatch a game, sometimes it doesn't live up to that hype. I rewatched the game today and I was enthralled because the coaching, the tactics, the players, everything about the game at every level was good. We all got treated to a great game of soccer, but I think MLS really got treated to a great game of soccer, and it's only going to promote the MLS to have games such as that televised and teams such as that playing each other. But when we're talking about the game itself, it was a tale of two halves. It was night and day. And let me tell you, the sun was not shining on San Diego Football Club in the first half. First, let's start with the changes. Let's start with the starting lineup. Mikey Varas did make some changes, and I am not mad at all about the changes he made. He put in Willie and Bombino on the wings, so left, right back and left back, in for Lawfulson and Negri. And y'all know I've been speaking Lawfulson's name here and there about some mistakes. Negri didn't have a great game last game, even though he did come away with the goal. But Willie and Bombino are in for Lawfulson and Negri. Angel still started in place of Chucky, but he actually started on the left side instead of the center this time. And then Ingvartsen, of course, just stayed in the center. On the opposing side, there was something interesting. Columbus Crew usually play a 3 and back, so 3 defenders. They actually played a 4-3-3. So it was super interesting to try to understand why they did that, why Wilfred Nancy, the opposing coach, wanted to make those changes, especially in a formation that he doesn't play all too often. Usually always plays 3 in the back, whether it's 3-5-1-1 or 3-5-2. So we'll see how that plays out in the analysis, because I broke it down and I know why he made the changes. But let's get started with the game recap. First half, Columbus Crew really soft pressed us, and then it turned into a full press at times. And we didn't look good out of that. We turned the ball over from the back and in the midfield a lot in that first half. It was almost turnover on turnover on turnover. But we did have one good chance in the beginning. In the 6th minute, Angel beats his defender on the left side, sends it in to Bombino in the middle. Bombino hits it, but it's partially blocked, but it was a really, really good chance. And that was really it for the next 20 some odd minutes, maybe even 30 minutes, because Columbus Crew came out and dominated that first half. And in the 13th minute, very early on, Columbus Crew sends a ball from the right to the left wing. Willie, our defender, doesn't get close enough to the ball, which then allows the attacker and the winger to send in a low cross to a person that is in the 6-yard box and just taps it in to beat CJ Dos Santos. I don't want to put everything on Willie, because our center defensive midfield, Sverkov, as well as our center back, lost the runner. And the runner just goes in between them to finish the ball home. So it was a little bit of a mess. Willie could have stopped the pass coming first, and they were targeting our wingbacks. From there, it looked like we were not only shook, but it looked like we didn't even want to play on the field, and it did not look like we were on Columbus's Crew level at that moment in time. 24th minute, they actually put the ball in the back of the net again. We got lucky because one of their players fouled one of our defenders in the box, which disallowed the goal. And really, I don't know why the Columbus Crew player fouled our player, because it was insignificant to the play and it should have been a goal, but we got lucky and we're going to take it. And then in the 29th minute, Russell Rowe, that individual that I mentioned in my pre-match episode, he got in behind, took a shot from distance, and it was a laser to CJ Dos Santos near post, but he made a great save. CJ Dos Santos is growing on me each and every game, and I don't blame him at all for the goal. He really couldn't have done anything to stop that earlier goal. But finally, in the 39th minute, we get a turnover in midfield. We slide the ball into Dreyer in behind, and then he takes the touch almost kind of all the way to the right end line. And sadly, it kind of cut down the angle. The goalkeeper was able to kind of come out the box a little bit and was able to make the save. But then, off the corner from that save, we send the ball in off of a short corner. Paddy McNair actually taps it home, and then you think it's an equalizer, but actually he was offside, and he was offside by a pretty good margin. Easy call to make. We just missed it. But finally, after that opportunity and that corner, the momentum started changing. So the last 5 minutes of the second half, we looked pretty good, and we were working ourselves back into the game after not being there throughout most of the first half. The sad part is Ingvardsson got injured on a non-contact play, and it looks to be his left leg. So we'll have to keep an eye out for what that means. Valakari was subbed in for Ingvardsson and played the entire second half. I'll throw some first half stats, which really don't tell the full story, doesn't tell the eye test. The eye test was Columbus Crew were dominating us. They were really controlling the ball. They were overloading midfield, and they were making very intricate passes. They actually had some balls over the top, which I didn't see come up on tape the last game I watched, but it looks like they really had an idea of what they wanted to do specifically versus us, San Diego FC. Thankfully, we came out at halftime and everything changed. And in the first 5 minutes, you just see us firing. And instead of playing out the back with slow buildup, which we were kind of doing in the first half, we decided to just go direct, and we started to play into space. And in the 50th minute and the 54th minute, we hit a couple balls over the top to Dreer, and one ended up in the back of the net, but his knee was offside. It was like that close, and it looked like it was the bend in the knee that was offside, but it was the correct call, even though it was close. So the goal was disallowed. Would we ever get one in? Then the giant woke up. Luca de la Torre. He got in behind in the 59th minute and forced a save by the Crew keeper. And he wasn't really at his best in the first half, but in the second half, he really came out firing and really got everything rolling, just made us look so good. And everything changed in the 61st minute. Another ball over the top, down the middle to Dreyer. Dreyer runs onto it, beat the defender, so now he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper. The defender brings him down. Straight red card against the Columbus Crew. Now they're down to 10 men because they stopped Dreer from a clear goal-scoring opportunity. No question, no doubt about it, straight red. From here, obviously SDFC has the extra man, and they made it show. In the 69th minute, 8 minutes after that red card, SDFC finally gets that equalizer off a Luca de la Torre corner, with Valakari rising the highest in the 6-yard box, glancing header into the side of the net. 1-1, game is on, and the game was there for the taking. We should have probably won. we had a chance. Mighton, which I'm really glad Mighton got some PT today, and I loved watching him on tape and then dissecting his game as well. More on him in the analysis. But he takes a long ball off the chest. The touch off the chest actually beats the defender, and then he shoots it after that touch. The goalkeeper knew nothing about it because it was a strong shot. It was a close shot, but the goalkeeper got like a paw, a knee, or something on it, and it was a save, and that was the winner. That was the moment that would have sent Snapdragon Stadium into hysterics, but a great save. You got to tip the cap. That was a good save. And we did have a couple opportunities off corners. We looked really good off set plays, but the game ended 1-2-1. So it is a draw. It is a draw. We got 1 point out of this game. I'll throw up the first half and full game stats. I want y'all to see the difference between where we were in the first half and just how dominant we were in the second half. And we put the pedal to the metal in the second half. Again, the first half stats don't tell the full story. I will give Columbus Crew a lot of credit in that first half. Again, they could have had 2 goals. But I wonder if there's kind of like this pressure when our team plays at Snapdragon. Like they're maybe trying a little bit too hard. Maybe they're overthinking things. Maybe just there's a lot of pressure because all the San Diego Padres and these big name stars are going to be there. Obviously, you got the crowd putting pressure on you to score, to, get your first win as a club at home. And it feels like we start a little slow when we're at home. If you remember the St. Louis City game, we started slow then as well. And it took us a little bit to climb back into that game. Thankfully, we kind of climbed back into that game rather early. I felt like we got into this game rather late. We barely did anything really up until the 40th minute of the first half. Thankfully, we did get back in the game, but this really does feel like we dropped 2 points rather than we won 1 point. Again, we were the better team. We deserved the win. You can see it on the statistics, the full game statistics. We totally deserved the win, and we just had so many good chances that we kind of didn't put away. But this was like really a tactical genius performance by both coaches. Again, one in the first half and one in the second half. Nancy is known for his style of play. Nancyball, he did come out in a 4-3-3, which allowed him to have wing backs. If you have 3 defenders, usually at least 2 of those defenders are always going to stay back on defense, but usually 3 are going to stay back on defense even when you're in possession with the ball. When you have 4, you can send your wing backs higher up the pitch, whether it's midfield or even further. And I think they executed the overloads with those wing backs really, really well. But not only did they execute the overloads really, really well in the first half, they actually put a lot of pressure on the space in behind on our wingbacks, on Willie and Bombino, and we were not handling it well. Again, Willie kind of gave up that goal in the first half, and you got to put a little bit of blame on Tverkov and McVeigh because they just didn't track the runner, and it was kind of an easy tap-in, no fault of CJ Dos Santos. But if you remember the Real Salt Lake game, Negri gave up a goal, and Real Salt Lake was attacking our wingbacks as well. So this is 2 games in a row where coaches are attacking our wingbacks, and we have given up a goal in each game. Thankfully, we were able to come back in both. I was, a little disappointed as well in Luca De La Torre in the first half. His first half was so quiet. I'd probably say the quietest half of soccer I've ever seen him play. He just wasn't getting on the ball, and when he was, everything was going backwards or everything was slowing down instead of speeding up. But for how badly we played, some of the players, played, we were still in the game. We were still fighting. We never gave in. We never gave them full momentum just to run us out of our house. And I think that shows a mentality, that shows a grit, that shows a resilience, which I think is so needed in sports and in life in general. But in the second half, that grit and resilience turned into, we're going to be the dominant team. So I told you Wilfred Nancy had tactical genius with the 4-3-3, pressuring our wingbacks, overloading midfield, which I don't think Mikey Varas or anyone, even myself, obviously, would have thought about. He always plays 3 in the back. Now he goes to a 4-3-3, even though you probably game planned for a 3 in the back. So you have halftime to make adjustments. And I think Mikey Varas made some really, really good adjustments. And I can see it in my head. All the players walking, off the pitch during halftime in the dressing room. Mikey Varas goes in and says, hey, we're not going to play it slow out of the back anymore. We're going to go direct and we're going to go over the top. Not only are we going to go direct and over the top, Valakari in place of Ingvarsson is going to be actually, even though he's kind of in a striker position, he's going to be a drop back holding striker and more so a midfield because that's Valakari's natural position. So it overloaded, kind of brought in that midfield, which allowed our wingers to then run more towards the middle. And we were sending balls over the top a lot. And we just outran Columbus Crew in the second half. And that tactical change worked like a dream. We were literally just outrunning defenders. And we had so many chances. And outrunning those defenders, sending those balls over the top, led to a red card against Columbus Crew. So Mikey Varas had a great adjustment in the second half, but also he had some great substitutions. I loved seeing Mighton out there. He could have and probably should have won the game with that chance in the 81st minute. So, that's kind of tough, but, he did everything well. And you almost have to give the tip of the cap to the goalkeeper for making that big save. I will say Mighton is young and it does show up on tape. The reason it shows up on tape, I see him getting out of position every now and then. He kind of gets lost on the field just a little bit, which again takes him out of position, doesn't allow him to attack in sometimes those moments or be an outlet in those moments when he probably should. But also on tape, dude runs. He's fast, and he puts pressure on the defense. So I loved seeing him out there. Hope he gets a little bit more PT. But that is so, so dangerous. And when I was talking about Luca De La Torre in the first half, it wasn't rave reviews. Y'all know how I feel about Luca De La Torre. LDLT showed up in the second half. The beast woke up. The monster was awakened because he really took control. He looked dangerous. He got a shot on goal that looked really dangerous. He had the assist on the corner, and he was just finding spaces a lot more, and he looked a lot more dangerous. He showed up on tape. But there was this one moment where he found himself in the box, running almost away from the box, so the defender is trailing him, and then he does a Cruyff turn to go back in the box and leaves the defender behind him. That skill level is pure filthy. Skill level filthy is up here, but it was just magisterial just to see him make that turn, to see him have that confidence, to see him have that composure and control in the box, and to do that to a professional defender shows you how good Luca De La Torre is. But sometimes I feel like he's not always as aggressive as he should be. The entire first half, I was like, where's Luca? Where's Luca? Because I'm always keeping an eye on Luca De La Torre. I think he is our engine. I think he unlocks a lot of this team, even though Tverkov and Godoy, I think, are super important as well. But offensively, I think Luca De La Torre is our best player, especially with Chucky sitting out. Also, honorable mention to Dreyer because he's obviously shown up. But I'm huge on the midfield. But he's a player that unlocks everything, and I think he really needs to be the engine. I think he needs to be aggressive from the first whistle to the last whistle. And I want him just to take over, right? I want him to be that player to take over and just be like, hey, maybe my team's in a slump. Maybe my team's in a funk. They need me to do something special. And I want him to just take that onus on himself to be like, I am him. Because I think he is. But again, he was not aggressive in that first half. He wasn't finding space in that first half. And I've seen him a couple times kind of fall into obscurity during a game. But in that second half, he shows you just the ability he has. This dude can literally be an MVP, most valuable player, but he has to take it. He has to want it. And I will say, it does look like his conditioning isn't at 100%. I say that because he's gotten subbed out a few games early in the second half. And you don't take off a player of that magnitude, of that skill, if he's maybe not tired or maybe injured. So why are they taking him off? And then I watched kind of this game, and I thought his work rate wasn't all that high, especially in the first half. Again, second half was a different story, but I do want to see more of him. I want to see more of him because I feel that we still have issues breaking down teams when their defense is fully set and we're in their final third. We look good off set pieces, off corners, off free kicks. We scored in preseason off of a short free kick. We almost scored off a short free kick here, and we almost scored off 3 corner kicks, and we finally got one, obviously, in a corner kick that went in. So our set pieces look good, but we haven't been able to go through open play when we're just going against a defense that is set up in their final third. I need Luca De La Torre to unlock that box. I need Luca De La Torre to bring a little bit of magic. So I do want to see a little bit more of him because we obviously had a lot of possession in the second half, but most of our chances came off counters or corners, not when we were in their final third passing the ball around and we were up a man. So that was a little worrisome and has been a little worrisome for me since preseason and throughout this season. I've been calling it out. But hey, it was a phenomenal game. Way to come back by SDFC. Also, you know what this means? We're still undefeated. We still have not lost a game of soccer. And we've looked good in every game. So there's a lot to be excited about. We're still number 2 in the West. And our next game is away. And if you've been watching, we've won both games that we've played away from home. So hopefully we can make it 3, and it's against Austin FC. And so it will be a fun game to watch. You know, I'm going to be watching it on the television. I will be bringing you all the pre and post-match hype for that game, not only for San Diego FC, but also you can catch my Wave FC content on the Penalty Kick podcast. I'm the host, Mike Gio, and I'm out. Have a wonderful Sunday, y'all.